Aloha, friends and neighbors. Welcome to program 1088. This is Rollin Frost, Kona astrologer, hoping to give you some useful information about your coming times. The study of time, that's what Rinpoche told me. The study of time. So you can use it to study anything, you know. We're going to have a little fun with the whole sex business today, because Mars and Venus in conjunction lie. Young maids, whate'er is asked of you, deny. What is that about? That was Ben Franklin. Yes. Mars and Venus in conjunction lie. And he used the symbols of Mars and Venus and conjunction. So in his almanac, you just see down where he has witty sayings, you see these couple of lines. And on top of the lines are Mars conjunct Venus. And the line is, when Mars and Venus in conjunction lie, young maids, whate'er is asked of you, deny. And that's what's going on in the sky mirror right now. Mars and Venus are together. They're starting at 20 Virgo and going right up to 1 degrees of Libra. So if you've got planets in those areas of your chart, the last 10 degrees of Virgo, this is going to hit you, some of the people you know, and it could be very interesting. It may be a little fun, but I'm not so sure it's very good for Venus. One of the problems lies in the fact that as Mars and Venus start out this journey, this 10 degree, 11 degree journey through the last of Virgo, here's old Saturn waiting up here at 22, 23 degrees of Sag. Sagittarius to Virgo, a mutable fire to a mutable earth. Mutable square each other. This is a square. There's a big old red line between Saturn running down here to Mars and Venus. So here they are. Here's Romeo and Juliet. You know, there's a brother and sister. Here's these young people, hand in Virgo, altruistic, out to help people. These are helpers, people you see at work, walking along hand in hand, looking for flowers. It can be very nice. Mars and Venus in conjunction lie. But in 2 degrees, 2 days, roughly, from where you're at, in the next day or so, they're going to run smack into Saturn. And Saturn says, you can't do that here. And there's a law, and there's a problem, and there's a disappointment, and it's a brick wall. That's what Saturn's like. Here come the judge. So, it's not we know from that much. Now it starts off nice because there's a trine to Pluto. So, you know, Mars and Venus are happy here at 17, 18 degrees, and when they first started, that's where you are now, if you're watching the Thursday and the Friday show. Trine to Pluto. That reminds me, on the Big Island in Naleo, and my Friday show is at 5:30 on Channel 53. They've chosen to program the Hawaii Police Department show, where those guys show all the mugshots of the guys that they're looking for. And so you are treated to total police, and these poor mugshots are when somebody's in the police station in the clutches of Pluto and they're being arrested, and they've gone through all kind of trauma and they look like hell. And there they are in jail. Saturn's got them. So when you turn on the Friday show on the Big Island, you know, if you turn it at 5 instead of 5:30, you'll get the police, which I'm not totally happy with the vibes of having all the policemen and these poor people that are being hunted all over the video before my show comes on. But that's the way it is. Your astrologer's taking some beatings right now. Uranus is, you hear my voice. It's getting a little better, but I hurt my back I heard it bad somehow, like when the plane conked me at first of the year. And I'm in a lot of pain. So you can hear it in my voice. I'm stressed out. I'm not going to lie to you and say, oh, things are fine over here. No, they're not. They're not at all. I'm under stress. I'm laying down most of the time. And kind of fed up with what's the difference between aspirin and Tylenol and ibuprofen and Aleve and all. Geez, try to read the labels and you're in Neptune land. So here's another thing that's going to happen to you during this time. Well, it just happened, I think, is you just had a full moon. Well, first of all, there was a full moon about a month ago. And it was on Neptune, huh? And Neptune, I call him priest, artist, doctor, musician. It was a real source of problems. And what did you have? You had floods, water problems, and your Congress is enmeshed in this crazy thing about how small an insurance cost we can make ourselves and make the insurance companies lots of money and screw the public out of their rightful. There's another guy, bless his heart, Bernie, who's got a universal health care law. He put that bill up. Nobody's talking about it on the media. All they're talking about is Obamacare and what Trump has trumped up his friends to take even more health services away from people. So this is very sad. Now it turns out that 1/6 of our economy goes to doctors, insurance companies, hospitals, and drug manufacturers. Neptune, this sneaky bugger, this is just as bad as if you add the other side of Neptune, which is oil and hydrocarbons and plastics. My God, between your gasoline and your plastics, which pollute everybody terribly, yeah, and your drugs, and you can't even watch TV anymore. Anytime there's a commercial, ask your doctor about this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing, and my goodness. The drug companies are going straight to the public. And lots of times there's a thing on the end that says, now don't take this if you're allergic to it. Shit, how do you know you're allergic to it unless you take it and get allergic? Or much worse. Lots of them have warnings of death and suicidal tendencies. Call your doctor right away. Come on. This whole thing is out of hand. These guys are not God. They're just peoples like you and me. And their educations are kind of limited, these poor doctors. I'm very sympathetic towards them. Some of them got into this doctoring business, out of real altruism. They did. Of course, a lot of them just got into it because that's where the money is. Grandma said, I got to be a doctor or a lawyer or make money. Shoosh. So I don't know. When the Soviet Union went Soviet, when they took away the barbarous capitalistic culture they'd been living in, one of the most interesting changes that happened was that doctors got downgraded and they made the same money as a cab driver. A cab driver got upgraded. Doctors make the same amount of money. Whoosh. It wasn't too long before a lot of ladies were doctors. They had the real caring attitude. So, this doctoring thing is out of hand, and the costs of it are out of hand, and has been pointed out by Bernie. All the civilized countries have free health care. You got to pay a little more in tax. Of course, we could take 1/4 of the money into the military, and the subsidies for the gas and oil and plastics business. We could take 1/4 of that money. Everybody'd have free health care. Be plenty of money for it. For the house. Of course, the insurance companies, they won't, what do they call one pay all? It's like the government pays all the bills. My God, what a horrible thing. Free health care for everybody. Do you know when you're being fooled? Look at the normal television, ask your doctor, take this pill. Here are all our politicians enmeshed in Obamacare versus Trump care. Jeez, we need free care for all. Let the military expense pay for it. Take the black budget and the CIA budget, and you could cut all the Pentagon costs in half. and give us what the rest of the civilized world has. And that's my take on that. Neptune. I know a lot about Neptune. I was in the oil business. Yeah, I had my own oil lab. I sampled oils from all over the world for Dow Chemical to get secondary oil recovery. We learned how to put plastic in water and dissolve it, thicken the water, dump it, put it into the ground in injection wells, and get the last 5% of the oil out of the oil sand. I was a super technological wizard of Dow. There was 7 or 8 of us that knew the thing. And we sold it to a lot of oil companies and started a lot of polymer floods. And I spent 7, 8 years of my life in that thing, in the oil business. Bang, flash. Later, 10 years later, I'm studying, social sciences and astrology and psychology. And I had little boys growing up underneath me, and I got into health. I married a nurse. We started at Le Mans. We got into the radical side. We're Woodstock people. And almost everything you look at from birth to death is a mess because of our medical system. And there's people ripping you off right and left, especially at birth and death and changes like that. I mean, my God, sometimes this Neptune character, he just sleazes right in there and grabs the, and sleazes out again. And you didn't pay the doctor money, did you? What's wrong with that? You should give the doctor $10 bills and see how you feel and the doctor feels about the trade. You just bought those services. But you don't do that, do you? No, insurance company, all this. You don't even see it. It's all fishy, fishy, fishy. And just like they keep building incredibly bad designed roads and highways that kill people, and they get it from the gasoline tax, and the carnage continues, and global warming continues because they won't let us get electric cars going and smaller, lower, what's going on here? Oh, the market will take care of it, they say. The American government subsidizes the oil industry like 20%. Yes, they started doing that during the war years, and they never stopped. Bad Neptune, spank, spank. Finally, I didn't realize this all this time. The prior 15 years of teaching astrology here, I always thought Neptune, priest, artist, doctor, musician. I knew who he was. I didn't realize how sneaky he was, and what a phony he could be, and how he rips you off. And now, everything I look at history, I see the Pope, ugh. I see the King, ugh. Neptune's always glamorous and sparkly on the outside. I see the movie stars and the girls, what they're selling to you. Geez, here's a product to clean up your skin. Take this pill every week. If you get suicidal, call your doctor. Oh well, we've had enough of it. The reason I got on this rant is because it was a 30-day thing, we had a full moon on Neptune, and Neptune got lunatic-like, and you saw it. You saw people in floods. You saw all those people, wading around in 4 foot of water, and then suddenly there's a fear there could be bad bacteria in that brown water. You ever hear of anybody having a problem like that in floodwaters? Nah. The guys who work in sewage, they don't have problems like that. Sewage is sterile. Come on. Anyway, the real floods were over, Mumbai, yes, where 20,000 people, were homeless because of floods. And then there's the religious side, huh? Yes, Muslims, Hindus fighting Muslims, and suddenly there's, 5,000 villages are burned, 400,000 people are escaping crazily. That's Neptune stuff. Religious wars. Eh? So you had a whole month of them. And it's you can kind of uncover Neptune a little bit when you look at the last month that you've had about all the Neptune stuff. The liquids, the booze. Boy, they glamorize drinking alcohol. I can't believe it. Not a word about pot. It's the best painkiller around. And this opioid thing, geez, I can't believe they're drumming up the drug war over opiates. because people are having so much pain, the doctors aren't supposed to give them opiates, so they might get hooked. You know, morphine used to be marketed as laudanum. You could buy a little bottle of laudanum in a drugstore. Back when the first white guys were running around in Kona, you know, just turn of the century. Laudanum was a great painkiller. It was just liquid morphine in a little bottle. It's cheaper than booze. And you could buy it anywhere and treat your own pain. I remember a story in where Henry Greenwell is one of the patriarchs of Kona and lived up on the hill there, and he had to drive his horse down into Kona town now and then for business. And when he did, he had this terrible backache he got from loading his shovels in San Francisco at the gold rush. He got there with a whole shipload of shovels, going to make $1 million in the gold, sell them to gold miners. What happened? Damn. All his helpers ran off to the gold mines. He had to unload them himself. He hurt his back. Best doctor for back injuries? Honolulu. He comes here. Anyway, he's up there. He's trying to grow some oranges, and quite successfully. And his bad back. And he has this backache. And so he'd get on his horse, and he'd grab his little bottle of laudanum, and he'd trek on down the rocky, nasty path to the coastline. And everybody worried that Henry was going to have a little too much laudanum and fall off his horse into the rocks. In Kona, that's no small thing. Fall off a horse, you break a leg or an arm or an elbow or something, and for a guy Henry's age, that could be it. Anyway, the big worry was he's got his laudanum, and he has a tendency to overdo it a little bit, and people knew about the use of morphine and laudanum. There wasn't a big fear about getting hooked on it. You know, you just want to sleep all the time? Jeez, come on. So this opioid thing is out of hand. It's been out of hand you saw it pumped up the same time you saw all the floods. And you saw all of our so-called elected officials, those we put in power, fighting over, health insurance. Shame on them. Shame, shame, shame. But they're just like us. They've had a whole month of lunacy over Neptune, over this guy. And now you know a lot more about him. I don't trust him at all. I cast him as a malefic. In ancient astrology, when you looked at the planets, and it's been like that for a long time, they came in pairs, Mars and Venus. Okay, Mars, a good guy and a bad guy. The good guy is Venus, she's sweet. The bad guy was Mars. Mars is the lesser malefic. Puts matter, money above spirit. Saturn is the great malefic. Cross of matter over the crescent of flesh. And Jupiter, so Jupiter and Saturn, Jupiter's a good guy, Saturn's a bad guy. Mars and Venus, okay? Venus the good guy, Mars the bad guy. The other two are Uranus and Neptune. And I'm wondering about those pairs because they're newly discovered. Well, it finally got clear to me, after studying some history, that Uranus was Quetzalcoatl. When you look at what Quetzalcoatl did, taught civilized stuff and technical stuff and sciences, from astrology to mathematics to how to set up your garden with water circuits and how to become civilized and make, he was very good. Now, Neptune, on the other hand, they called him Aztecatlapoca, and he did a lot of black magic and stuff like that. And these two were always fighting somehow, but Neptune's afraid that Uranus has all these neat ideas that'll bring down the church. And so the rebels, take all the gold away from the Pope. Anyway, Uranus is the good guy. That's what I'm telling you. After 20 years of looking at this, he's the Neptune is the malefic, like Saturn and Mars. He's the bad guy. And he's like a magician. He's cloaked in all kind of sparkly crap. Uranus is the great good guy, like Jupiter and Venus, who's helping. So these two are polarized. Make no bones about it. It's taken me, I've been into this astrology thing for 50 years now, 40 years studying this. And these are the first two guys I started studying because nobody's doing it. Oh, we barely got the fact that Uranus rules Aquarius and Neptune rules Pisces. So from Aquarius and Pisces, you get a little bit of their flavor. But I tell people, Uranus comes along, here's the tornado, here's the hurricane, and amazing, it doesn't kill people, but it trashes all your stuff, and you learn to love your neighbor. The neighbors help each other. Earthquakes do a similar thing. It's real sudden. Look what happened in Mexico in the earthquake. Those guys said, we're not waiting for government, and they organized, and they went out and started saving people. Those are your neighbors and your brothers and sisters, and that's the feeling of uniting. Remember, this glyph has to do with two fleshed crescents. See? And they're tied together by the cross of matter. They may not be talking to each other much. They're not even looking at each other. Here's a bunch of guys down at the shop, and they're different religions and different colors and different lifestyles. And they don't mess around with each other too much. They're not too social. But something having to do with matter, safety, money, food, cross of matter ties them together and brings them together. And that's what this age of Aquarius is all about. It's uniting people over these physical things. And Mr. Trump is a champion of Neptune. Oh yeah, the doctors, the oil, the plastics. Pollute everything, who cares? Neptune, huh? And so he's fighting with Uranus, just like Tezcatlipoca fought with Quetzalcoatl. He will use tricky things. He will use poisons. He will use black magic. He will use seduction. He will use behind-the-scenes sneaky stuff to get at the unions. Here's all the guys at the shop, and the union guy came along and said, hey, if you organize, we can get more wages and better safety. Son of a gun, they organized. And the history of unions in this country is amazing. It's beautiful, and it's amazing. Of course, the famous Neptune people, here was Henry Ford and all the rich guys, they hated it. They were really fearful. And they had good reason to be. Okay, the main thing is sex hurts, and Venus is in trouble with the Mars and Venus. And Jupiter's opposing Uranus. You got to help Uranus. Help your astrologer. Let's go through the sky mirror quickly, because I'm at the end of my time. On Friday, the moon's in Aries. You got a shaky day, Thursday, Friday. And here's when Uranus is going to act up. He doesn't like Jupiter. Wheelchair people get out and organize against the rich. On Saturday, the moon's in Taurus. It all mellows out. Neptune is happy. Oh yeah, let's get more doctor, priest, plastics, fuel. We can use nuclear power. We can do all that stuff. Very social. Saturday night, look at that. There's Mars and Venus and Pluto. They're having fun on the 7th. That's a good time for a party. Continues the vibes through Sunday till you get here to Sunday afternoon, and the moon shifts into Gemini, and it starts to tense up. Yeah. As you go into Monday, the moon's still in Gemini here, and there's a square to Neptune, and there's bad smells and stuff. The thing is, Neptune's not under the lunacy anymore. I didn't finish that. What happened is, on the 5th of October, back here, there was a full moon. It took away the lunacy from Neptune. So all that exaggerated emotion's not there, and you won't have freaky floods and doctored drugs on Monday. It will be confusing, and you'll lose things, and it's very bad for Venus and Mars Monday night. They find out the bad smells are real, and they're in trouble, and they're scared. Monday night, Tuesday, young people trapped. If there was a big earthquake here, a hurricane, here's the young people being trapped. That's bad stuff. But there's men out there, the fathers are out, and they're trying to help late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. There might be some good news on Tuesday. We hope for it. It's like there's a sextile to Uranus. And usually Uranus doesn't kill. Let's organize. Let's get all the guys in Mexico to organize that helped out in the earthquake. All those different colored hard hats. I love that. Here's Jupiter. You know, truth and wisdom comes out suddenly. Lightning bolts of truth Tuesday in the middle of the day, in the afternoon and evening. Quite nice. And the moon shifts into Cancer after dinner and starts to feel different again as you go through Wednesday. Here's Thursday. Thursday, there's a square. The moon squares the sun, squares Mercury. Can't get nothing done. Hear that beep? Somebody's backing up a truck out there. Nothing I can do. Sorry. So there's some action for romance on Thursday, but I wouldn't mess with it. No, Uranus and Jupiter are there. You got beeping, you got more wind and tornadoes and shit. Thursday is a mixed bag. I wouldn't mess with it. Friday, the moon's in Leo. On Saturday, the moon in late Leo comes up here to the nice point again, and you get new information and settling down of good judgment. You know, that's important at this time. Okay, let's see. The Sun, Uranus, Saturn, everybody's in agreement. You can help all those people. We could have universal health care. Aha, comes up the truth. Saturday night, Sunday morning. You're not confused again by the doctor, priest, and all the drugs until Sunday night. Here's the moon opposing Neptune. That's no fun. There you are, confused. Tezcatlipoca, the black magicians, sparkly things at you. Oh yeah, just drink this liquor, and if you get suicidal, call your doctor. Sunday night, the 15th. But the lunacy, there's not as much, you know, craziness and exaggerated emotion on it now, thanks to the full moon you just had Thursday morning on the 5th of October. You're kind of out of that month, but I invite you to kind of check it out. You've learned a lot in this last month. And, yeah. So this next week, it's all about Mars and Venus. And I would take Ben Franklin's advice seriously. When Mars and Venus in conjunction lie, young maids, whate'er is asked of you, deny. Yes. Okay, here's the disclaimer and stuff. Look, rollinfrost@yahoo.com. Email me. Order some work. I'm badly in need of work. Weekly TV show, skymarastrology.com/TV. You can get the weekly shows there, the last 5 or 6 of them. Try it. You'll like it.